Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and this is your...
It's all the way for another touchdown.
Go Eagles.
Photo News Fix. This fix is brought to you by the FroKnowsPhoto Triple Play Bundle of Lightroom presets. If you're looking to speed up your raw workflow or give yourself a great starting point both on desktop and mobile, then you should check out the Triple Play Bundle. But don't just take my word for it. Here's a testimonial from Glenn. By far, your packs are the best. Hands down. They create beautiful images and they look natural. I have a few other people's presets that create something clearly unnatural looking, and I don't want people to say, oh, well, you did something to that pic. I took a few pics in NYC and with Gotham created something spectacular. Now that guy Glenn, he knows what he's talking about. If you want to be more like Glenn, you can pick up the Triple Play Bundle that includes Fro Pack 1, 2, and 3, and of course comes with Skittles. Skittles. Boom. Head on over to FroKnowsPhoto.com/FroPack3 to play with the befores and the afters, and you can pick up the Triple Play Bundle on sale. First up, it looks like the demand for the Panasonic S52 is so that Panasonic had to apologize.
I want to apologize
that they might not be able to meet demand.
Just wanted to apologize.
One, I find the demand hard to believe and blown out of proportion. And two, I had no idea that in Japan, companies are required to acknowledge if they can't meet the public's expectations for delivery of a product. Now, I guess that's why Nikon is always apologizing for something. Nikon apologizes every single time they release something new. You do this every time you release a product. And I'm sure they'll be apologizing as soon as they release the 85 1.2, but I digress. This is about the demand for the Panasonic S52. Now, this is a camera that reviewers tout as a threat to Canon, Sony, and Nikon, yet all three of these companies offer cameras that are superior to the S52 and have been for years. Can you say Sony A7 III 5 years ago? I nailed the focus. That's a testament to the autofocus in this camera. But Jared, the Panasonic is great. The video quality is to die for. The new Phase Detect AF changes everything.
Well, better late than never.
Now, I wonder how many of these reviewers calling this the next big thing will actually buy into the Panasonic system. I mean, if they haven't already been given an S52 and all of the glass as a gift, that is.
We have the entire f1.8 series lenses available for you all to take home with you alongside the S5 Mark II.
Was everyone who was invited to Japan for the event given the camera and lenses to keep? Now, here's what my source told me, and I quote, "The conditions are you can keep it as long as you want, but you can't sell it. And if you aren't going to do anything with it, we may call it back. But if you're using it, you can keep it as long as you want." Now, that's in reference to the body and lenses that they were able to take home. Now, I know DP Review disclosed this, but not many others did.
And of course, also as journalists, we're going to be sending this gear back when we're done with it.
Anyway, just because a company issues an apology saying that they won't be able to meet demand doesn't actually mean there is a demand. Now, I'm not being a hater here. I'm simply pointing out the fact that it's all relative. You don't know how many cameras Panasonic ordered in the first run. Was it 50, 500, 5,000, more or less? Unless you know exact numbers, it's hard to say that something is a success, and no one is going to give exact numbers. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Next up, it looks like Nikon is expected to release 8 new Z lenses in 2023, and some of them Sony doesn't even have yet. There's the 85 1.2, which a development announcement was already made, a 26 pancake lens, crop sensor 24mm, a crop sensor 12 to 28 PZ, full frame 200 to 600, and now a 70 to 180, 35, and a 135. My guess is that the 70-180 will be a rebranded Tamron lens that is a 2.8. The 35 prime, in my opinion, must be a 1.2, and if it is a 1.2, that's kind of a big deal.
I'm kind of a big deal.
One, because Canon and Sony don't have a native option, and two, because I love me a 35 1.2, you know, because Sigma has one for the E-mount that's a 1.2, and I love it. And the last rumored lens is a 135, which more than likely will be a 1.8. If all of these lenses come out in 2023, that would be great for Nikon shooters. They will have arguably a more well-rounded pro lens lineup than anyone else out there. Everything from the Hebrew Trinity to 1.2 primes, a 135 1.8, a 400 2.8 TC, and a 600 f4 TC. But at the end of the day, you can have the best lenses in the world, but if your camera's autofocus system can't take advantage of that solid glass, then does it even matter? Look, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse. Dead! But anytime you talk about Nikon, you kind of have to talk about the autofocus at this point. You just do. Now we'll dive more into this and every other photo news story from this week on this week's Raw Talk podcast that comes out every Friday. Get it wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for FroKnowsPhoto Raw Talk. And finally, we finish with more lens rumors, this time from Canon. Now, if there's one place that the Canon RF system lacks, it's on the wide end. The widest lens that they offer is the 14-35, and that's an f4. Nikon has a 14-24 2.8Z, and Sony has a 12-24 2.8 for the E-mount. But if you want wide on a Canon, you have to adapt the aged 11-24 f4. Well, 3 new lens patents have been filed: a 10-20 f4, 9-18 f4, and 11-24 f4, all for RF. Now, for as much as I love the 11-24 f4 EF, in my opinion, it just doesn't hold up on today's modern mirrorless cameras. Now, of those 3 lenses, I would probably go with a 10-20, though I'm not sure how useful 10mm actually is in reality.
That's what she said.
Now, if I had to guess, I think Canon will choose to stick with the 11-24 f4 and try to make it a little more compact than the older EF version. When it comes out, I can't wait to get a long-term loaner to go with my long-term loaner R3. And since I'm mentioning it, I've got long-term loaners of the Z9 as well as the A1, and also this R5 that we're using right here, and a bunch of the Canon glass. I've said it before, we've got long-term loaners. But let's talk more about long-term loaners and everybody else on YouTube on the next Raw Talk. And there you have it. That's your photo news fix this time around. To check out the last fix, go ahead and click on the screen right here. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And that's where I'm gonna leave it. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.